Now Blue Lock's cast of players is anything but small, as we started with 300 players, and even now we have a total of around 23 to 26 players going into the U20 World Cup. Now having such a big cast is great, as we get so many different personality to follow. You can either follow that really emo guy, or my personal favorite, the Princess Chigiri. Anyway, what I wanted to get across is that when you have this huge cast of characters, it's easy for some to be either forgotten or not used to their full potential due to lack of screen time. Now that's exactly why I wanted to today discuss some of the characters who I felt has been wasted in the story, or players who had super huge potential but fell short in the end. Basically just cool characters who I would have liked to see more of. And this intro has been going on for way too long, so let's get right into it with the first one, who is Tokimitsu. Now this shouldn't come as a surprise why he is here, and I picked him first so that I could ease my way into the characters with them becoming more obscure later on. So yeah, I'm saving the best onto the last portion of the video, so be sure to stick around. Anyway, Tokimitsu was a character with a huge potential, as in the second selection he was ranked the third best player, only second to Aryu and Rin. And for good reasons, as Tokimitsu was like a tank on the field. His physicality was almost unbeatable, and not to mention that he had one of the most interesting abilities in the story, which was his unlimited stamina. Now that might not sound super interesting. However, it was something which caught my attention right away. With the power of unlimited stamina, he is someone who only gets better with time. As normal players starts to get worse, the more they run and use their stamina. But for Tokimitsu, he wasn't as bothered by that, meaning that while other players got worse, he stayed the same. But after the second selection, it felt like that was never further explained upon or even used in the series. As in the PXG game, it didn't feel like he did more than Nanas did, for example. And once again, it's such a shame, as I believe he is the one who have had the biggest glow down in the story of Blue Lock, from being top 3 in the second selection to then being eliminated in the Neo Egoist League, and with such a huge potential, it really gives me a bittersweet feeling. Now I do see why the author might have decided to kind of pivot away from Tokimitsu. Now, this isn't anything against anyone who is scared or quiet. However, that was pretty much his whole character. And when you have other cool and more interesting characters, you are left with a choice and ultimately have to pick the one who you think would benefit the story the most, which sucks. But I think that Tokimitsu just fell short and that there was nothing to do about it. But who knows? He still got an offer in the Neo Egoist League, so there's a chance that we will get to see him in the future, even though I highly doubt it. Now the second person that I want to discuss is Hiagi Rai. Now if you haven't read episode Nagi, then you will probably be a bit confused. However, those who have read it knows how much of an interesting and intriguing character Rai was. Rai was a character who was really fond of fortune telling. And in episode Nagi, he asked Baru, Chigiri and Nagi to pick a card. Chigiri picked the devil card, basically saying that the bomb that he is chained to is on a countdown to destruction, which most likely predicts that his leg will sometime in the future probably break or something like that. Baru got the Hanged Man, and it basically told Baru that he needed to curb his ego in the midst of restrictions, which will become the key to a new him. Now I don't know if that has happened to him yet, and if something like that happened in the Ubers game, as honestly, I've forgotten most of the Ubers game. Lastly, it was Nagi who got the death card, which basically just meant game over, and people link that to what happened now in the Neo Egoist League, and that he has to be reborn as he died as he got eliminated. Now to be honest, there wasn't a real point that I explained all of this. However, I wanted to give you the idea of Reiji's character. Having someone with a fortune-telling ability would be so cool. Like imagine in an intense match, Reiji casually draws a card and then predicts what's going to happen, but Ego doesn't believe him, but then it happens right in front of their eyes. Obviously that would be a bit overpowered if he could just see the future with his cards, but hopefully you at least get my point. Just having that small gimmick in the story would make it more intense. Hey, it's Natsu, mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? Also, I haven't even gone over how good of a player Reiji was, as he was really solid. Reiji is a deep analysis player, and someone I would compare to the likes of Nico and Isagi, and while on the topic of Isagi, Nagi even said himself that Reiji was like a combination between his own and Isagi's playstyle, so just imagine Nagi and Isagi in the same person, and how crazy they could become. Reiji studies how players think, act, and move. He can predict what they'll do during a game. This helps him create a strategy to beat them one-on-one or in group plays. For example, Reiji was able to predict the moves of both Nagi and Baro just by understanding their playing styles and personalities, making it easy for him to get past them. Like, is it only me? Or do you guys also hear how much of a beast Reiji could become? I really don't know why the author didn't decide to expand more on Reiji, as he has so much in his arsenal. And honestly, he is super cool as well, which is why it's a shame to see him go. The difference between Reiji and Tokimitsu is that I think that Reiji would have been able to survive in the story thanks to his personality, and that he is more than just a simple shell. Sorry for all of the Tokimitsu fans watching this, but yeah, Reiji actually has a super cool gimmick with his fortune telling. His character design is alright, and it looks pretty cool and intriguing. And lastly, his playstyle is just off the charts. I'm a bit confused on why he decided to pick Munchen, as I think that he would have been brilliant in Ubers alongside Nico and Snuffy. As together, I think that their tactical brains would go nuts, and if he picked Ubers, I could for sure have seen him surviving. But I guess that it's just a shame at the end of the day. At least we got a couple of chapters about him in episode Nagi, so I can't complain too much. Now, as I've been talking quite a lot about both Tokimitsu and Reiji, I thought that I should probably change it up and talk about some people who doesn't have that much to themselves, and the first one is Ishikari. Now most of you will be like, who even is this? And I don't blame you, as I don't think that he has spoken a single word in the story. So why even talk about him? Well, he might not look it, but he is actually the tallest player in Blue Lock. And to not use the tallest player has always been kind of weird to me. Like even using him as a goalkeeper or like a center back would be amazing as his reach is out of this world, but yeah, that's like everything about him, just wanted to talk about him. Now I have seen the comments, and I know that you guys are tired of hearing me talk about this guy every video. However, please just give me 1 minute to talk about the LeBron of Blue Lock, otherwise known as Nishioa, and he is the biggest wasted potential in Blue Lock. Like how can you introduce someone with the name Aomori's Messi to then never use him? Like I know that the author didn't forget about him, because instead of just forgetting about him, he made sure that he was injured all of the time, which I don't know. It gets me so frustrated. Like at the beginning when Kira introduced him, I was so ready to see him down the line. As you know, Kira knew about him, so he has to be a big name. But then I saw him getting injured and slowly lost hope. However, as you guys hear, the hope still isn't dead completely, as I'm still continuing to pray that someday Nishioa will make the biggest comeback in Blue Lock history. Will that happen? Most likely not. However, as long as you have hope, then anything can be possible. I really think that I could make some sort of Nishioa cult for everyone who is as delusional as I am, so let me know in the comments if you would like to join it. Now, after talking about the GOAT Nishioa, we go over to Neru. Now Neru is a bit of a double-edged sword, as I feel like outside of the main characters from the U20 Japan team, he was the most interesting for me, so it would have been cool to have seen more from him. However, I also understand why he didn't get the chance. Like, he chose the club with the most main characters in it, so obviously, he would take the hit. However, even with that said, I would have liked to see him play some more, as I'm personally always drawn to quick players, which might be why I'm so drawn to Chigiri. Anyway, I feel like having a player whose main role was being a defender, and with the aspect of him being super fast, it could have opened up a lot of opportunities, especially in the Neo-Egoist League. I do feel like FC Barca would have probably been his best bet to get to show himself, so it's a shame he had to go to bastard Munchen. Anyway, I kind of feel like I'm going in circles now, but what I wanted to say is that Neru had the potential to be a really interesting character and could have become a very likable character if he just got the chance to prove himself. But I guess that 2 speedsters are enough going into the U20 World Cup. Now lastly, I actually want to talk about someone who I think not many of you will have guessed, and that's Kuan. Now, Kuan was a scumbag. However, that's what made him so interesting because with Kuan, it gave the story a whole new realism to it. Kuan was stressing that he would get eliminated, which is why he made the deal with Wanima to try and ensure his safety. Now, I get the point that he was only necessary for the first arc. However, I still think that he could have found his place in the later arcs as well, as I would have loved to see more of his interactions with Team Z and how he would handle being labeled a traitor, even though he made up with them in the end of the Nagi match. I don't know. I really found it interesting with Kuan being an inside man and sabotaging his own team, and I definitely think that the author could have cooked up something more interesting with him later on in the story. But even if he did, then I don't see him surviving the Neo-Egoist League, so I guess that it doesn't matter too much in the end. Now I actually have some more characters that I could talk about. However, I will save them for a possible part 2, so comment down below if you would like to see that. And also comment on who you consider to be an underrated and underappreciated player, as I would love to hear what you guys think. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel. And while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.